Good afternoon, everybody. What we're going to do in this segment is I'll speak for a few moments, and then I'll bring Edel, who's our product owner, Ryan, who is our head of product management, and Lee, our head of engineering, onto the stage. And they will take us through the product. And we'll also do a product development piece around key functionality that we've developed over the last year. And the guys will show you what we're planning to do over the next year or so. But before that, I'm going to take a few moments to myself, and first off to thank everybody, including our contributors today. I think it was very insightful for me, and I think for everybody else, in terms of the value that our product is bringing to their companies. And it also allows us to show where we can develop in the future and add value to them in the future. So that's really important for me to see, and I think the rest of the team here as well. But from a core perspective, we've made a decision, I suppose, to invest in our product over the number of years, and we're going to continue on that investment. So over the last 12 months, we've increased the engineering team and the size of the engineering team by about 50%. And we intend to increase that over the course of this year, year on year, by 70%. And that means, I suppose, what I would say is we're really proud of our product, but we also know that we have things that we want to do. Ryan pointed out a few, and also Jeff and Roman pointed out some things that we need to do over the course of the year and the next number of years as well to meet the requirements of the future. So what's good enough today will not be good enough, in a couple of years' time. And we also have to continue doing that development. And that development, covers, I suppose, a number of different spectrums. One is around consolidation of data and consolidation of tools. So I think it was Ryan that said we use about 13 tools over the lifetime when we're working just normal operations. What we want to do is bring that back into one consolidated tool set. So it means for companies that you're protecting the knowledge assets that you're creating within your projects and programs and making sure they're in a central location, that irrespective of whether people leave the job or they move off the job, those knowledge assets are there that supports those projects into the future. And that's what we want to do. So as efficiently as possible, bring those connection points and have an open API or an open integration layer that allows you to take information in. But also we need to be very clear that you need to be able to push information out. So Roman pointed out, from a timesheeting perspective, to be able to push that to an ERP system, but also to pull back in the information, the cost information, and consolidate that in to give you the ability to predict what may be happening in the future. And that's really important for us. So we're going to continue to invest in that and make sure that that is easy for you, our clients, to adopt that through whether it's an iPaaS platform, whether it's through your own API. So we will be coming to you and say there's a number of options for you to get information in and out of the system. What's your capability and maturity in that area, and how can we support you? Plus, we will look at your infrastructure and say, okay, what tools and applications do you have already in place, and let us bring them into the application itself, right? Because we want to add value for you and consolidate that data in how you're doing project execution. And then the last thing, I suppose, it's a buzzword around at the moment, is AI, right? What can AI bring you as a business? And we've spent the last 18 months working on a research program with Queen's University in Belfast around looking at what projects data is there and how then it can use to determine, I suppose, future predictions around your project execution, and also identify skills gaps that you may have within your organization. So that research program has just been completed, and now we're working on integrating that and bringing that value in from a project set as well. So on those notes, I'm going to hand it over to the rest of the team, and they will take you to some other highlights that we have.
Thanks, Pat. Hi there. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Edel McDade, and I am currently living my Britney Spears fantasy with this little headset. So I'm the product manager here at Cora. I have the pleasure of taking you through the roadmap today. I'm also going to take you through some of the themes that we have, all of the themes that we have set up in Cora and why those themes are important. So we have 7 themes that we've broken all of the functionality in Cora into. So the importance of those themes is so that we can focus our efforts and development efforts in the areas that bring the best value to you, our customers, and that drive business value for Cora. So I'm just going to go through these themes here now, and I'll start with strategic workforce planning. So what is strategic workforce planning? All things supply and demand of resources. As Margot mentioned earlier, having the right people at in the right place at the right time at the right cost. So everything that falls into that space and being able to ensure that you have the skills and the talent that you need in order to meet your goals and objectives. Next, project management practices. So this is basically the core of Cora. Everything's schedule and Gantt. What we're doing is giving you guys the ability to plan, execute, control, and monitor all of your projects. Reporting and dashboards, that really speaks for itself. All things, how do we surface your data to give you the best insights? Digitization of business processes. This is basically how do we help you as customers optimize and streamline all of your processes. Project cost controls, everything financial, baselines, change management, earned value management, revenue, project cost controls, and then AI-powered insights. So everything under that theme will focus on how we can utilize AI and machine learning to basically bring you the best value and insights from your data. So this is the current roadmap. You'll see the 7 themes as I've talked about them. And under each one of those, we have 17 functional components within Cora. So again, all of the functionality fits within those 17 components. So what I'm going to do today is we have a lot of work that we're doing. In the next year, I'm going to give you guys sort of a peek into some of the functionalities that is coming in the next release. That's the development is complete. It's going through our internal processes. It'll be released, the next release to production. And then I'm going to talk about some of the features that are slightly down the road a little bit. So first I'll start with the functional component of resources under workforce planning. So some of the pieces that we've worked on and that will be ready for the next, that are coming in the next release, are distribution curves on skills. So what benefit does this bring to you guys, our customers? Allows you to really what's the word I'm looking for? It allows you to give your labor demands more precisely. Custom attributes on resources. This really gives you an array of attributes that you can use to filter and view your to be able to better supply and demand those resources. And then upcoming, we've got this concept of teams and squads, which is really just the ability to supply and ask for demand in a team or squad concept. So next, we'll just look at the project engine under project cost controls. So what we've completed up to this point is status date. Status date, data date, interchangeable. What basically that functionality is, it's a point in time which allows you to check the performance of your project against the schedule and the plan. Additional columns on the Gantt, what we've added there is the ability for you to surface things like early start, early finish, late start, late finish, give you a much better view of exactly what the state of your project at any given time. And then upcoming alternative hierarchies, which Ryan mentioned. So basically this is what we will give you is the ability to create a hierarchical structure slightly different from the current schedule structure that will allow you to view your data and manage your data in whatever way you need, whatever makes sense for you. So under reporting and dashboards, we'll just have a quick look at widgets and dashboards. We've got a lot of functionality coming in this area. Everything that we're talking about here today, everything that's upcoming for this year and that was delivered recently, that data has to be surfaced to give you guys insights. So everything, this is one of our biggest areas. We're busy bees here. So recently we've completed a resource management dashboard, which basically gives you the ability to, I see that typo, please ignore that, which gives you the ability to get a much more granular view into for resource managers to be able to look at the supply and demand. And then upcoming, we've got Project Acuity, which is Cora's answer to Enhanced BI toolset. Now Lee's going to talk in that in a lot more detail later on and give you a little bit more details. So registers, again, Ryan touched on it. It's a very big area of focus for us this year. We know that we need to make some improvements around the UI and the UX, so we're going to put a lot of focused effort there so that it's easier to use and the user experience is better. The parent-child relationship, so we're going to create a sort of hierarchical structure between the register items so that you can basically have a better association between those register items. So under strategic portfolio management, we're going to focus on one functional component for this year, and that's around finance. Some of the upcoming pieces is that investment planning and flow down that, again, Ryan touched on briefly. So what this is really giving users the ability to submit project requests and initiative requests to the system, then for the organization, across a multi-level organization, then give the ability to view those, break those down, and then flow them back down to the project level. And then the entity dependency charts that I'm mentioning there is really a way of being able to visualize and see the association between your entities and elements of a project. Now, under project cost controls, we're going to focus in on finance. There's been a lot of work completed in this area and a lot of ongoing work. We've done a nice piece of work around baseline comparisons. Gives you the ability to compare projects and tasks on a project, and then rate matrix. It's two small words, but really what this is a big piece of functionality, complex piece of functionality that allows you to have a rate selection on your projects. Upcoming, we've got that baseline change request control. What that's going to do is allow you to be able to submit baseline change requests, then be able to view the impact of that request, what that's going to have on your current schedule, on your costs, then incorporate your changes into the system, and then report on that, monitor and report on that going forward. And then in earned value management, we've got a piece of work to do around ensuring that we're in line with the GovCon requirements, so we're putting a lot of work in there as well. And then last, but definitely not least, Pat touched on it, is AI and machine learning. We have around the project engine itself, one of the most exciting pieces that I think that we're working on is that project outcome predictions. How do we take your historical data and use a forecasting model to be able to give you insights into how your current projects are going to perform based on that historical data. So these chairs that you see over here, after all the discussions, we're going to have a panel selection over there. So we'll be available to ask questions. Please continue to add them in Slido. For now, I'm going to hand you over to Lee and Ryan, and they'll take you through product vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele.
Thanks, Adele. So a lot to summarize here, a lot of hard work that's gone into the past few months, the last year. Lee and I are fairly new to the company here, so we figured it was appropriate we take you through the vision. And as you can see, and maybe can't tell, I'll use a dad joke from one of our colleagues who said we're taking Cora to new heights. I'm 6'3", you wouldn't know standing next to him. But really that growth concept is something you've heard throughout the day from Philip all the way through, and we have to be able to support bigger projects, larger customer base, and this vision for the product is building on top of all the hard work that's gone into place. So as VP of Product One of the key things here for me is being able to have a roadmap that evolves to that. And so a first key thing to mention is the themes really summarize what we've been doing. Going forward, we're going to do a little bit of an evolution from those. We're going to start modularizing the product so that way when we add new functionality, we can layer that on top of the existing tool set. One thing that does is make sure that everything that everyone knows and loves stays protected, but also allows us to add depth in key areas. One of these that I'll call out, because it's going to be mentioned in a moment, is the GovCon solution. Northrop was here talking about it. Honeywell has an aerospace division. GovCon adds another level of depth to the product. That's going to be something that not everyone needs. That is a new module that we'll have. And as you start to see this roll out, again, we'll move from the themes into the modules that encompass the functionality within those. We're also going to start looking and managing each of those modules as their own roadmaps, regularly giving feedback in terms of what's in the next 6 months, what's not, doing quarterly reviews, and really trying to give you that feedback so that you know what's either coming from our side or from your inputs, if it's in the next release or not, but it's a critical component to growing the product, and we're really going to start to supercharge that roadmap development going into the next year. Lee, take it away on Azure.
Is the mic working? Good. Right, so Microsoft Azure. I'm assuming most people in the room have heard about Microsoft Azure and are doing something within their own environments. But within Cora, we've been working with Microsoft Azure for some time, deploying core infrastructure of how we host and run some of our larger clients. But it really does provide a global infrastructure to address security, scalability, and availability requirements that customers have. So this is both within a singular region, but also the need to have globally dispersed systems. So for Cora, we've been investing an awful lot of time here to develop native Azure support. So we have the infrastructure as a service option. This is something that's relatively simple, but not very operationally efficient for Cora or for our customers. So we're switching now to more of the native service approach from Microsoft Azure, and that allows us to have dynamically scaling services for our larger customers, but it also allows us to take advantage of much better availability standards that are offered on those services. So self-healing of issues that might occur, and like I say, the dynamic scaling, it just removes all the data considerations. So it's a great investment, and it's something that's continuing for, we'll be doing the migration through Q3, Q4.
Yeah. So not only going to impact our customers, but internally, I'll mention a little bit about how we're building on the Azure platform. Now, the next thing to mention here is FedRAMP, and there's a couple angles from this. If you're in the US, you may know that term, the Risk Authorization Management Program. It's a US government standard in terms of being able to provide any type of cloud services to the government. What this means in the US is we are working towards being FedRAMP certified. That allows us to enter into clients that are currently working with the government directly. It allows us to go onto an Azure GovCloud, which keeps all the data in the US for those customers that require that. But for everyone else, it kind of ups the cybersecurity, if you will, of our own products, and that's important to us as well. As part of FedRAMP certification, you get third-party audited. So there is going to be a heightened scrutiny on our processes, our practices, but it means more risk and authorization controls around your data, and this is an important factor for us to not only be in the US, but just globally having that high level of cybersecurity, which we all know is a critical component to each of our organizations. So from there, let's talk a little bit about Acuity. I think it came up a little earlier.
So this is why I should never be allowed to name anything. So when I started at Cora 7 months ago, one of the most interesting things I came across was the variety of data we have inside of the platform. And the need from our customers has really, really grown in terms of how they want to consume, how they want to integrate with that data, how they want to bring that data into different audiences. So we sat down as a team, we had some discussions around some areas we've been investigating, and we kicked off Project Acuity. And Project Acuity is starting life as a reporting and dashboard service, targeted at executives targeted at the leadership to be able to consume these large volume data sets and present the information in a much more performant manner than potentially you see through the normal PPM service. So it's very much targeted at that type of audience. For us as well, it's representing quite a good investment in giving us a platform to be able to do additional investments and additional visualizations of data. So we get a lot of requests from customers now for high volume data pipelines to be able to take the data out of Cora and integrate into their own data visualization tooling. So this is also forming part of the objectives of that Project Acuity. It's probably one of my favorite things we're working on at the moment. Not
Yeah.
that all the other work's boring, it's just this is very, very good.
It really has a lot of scalability factors. It's going to not only impact reporting, but really give us this backbone, and it's going to help also with the UI experience I'll talk in a moment on. AI machine learning, again, a lot of things that have been said around that today. This is something that is coming out of incubation into the roadmap here, and we're going to be building predictive analytics based upon it. That is really the touching off of the tip of that iceberg, because there's so much more we can do with it. Making these data-driven decisions is critical. A few years ago, I don't think we had the real volume of data. And if you look at what Azure offers, too, on top of that, they have machine learning as a service. They have an AI platform that we can build from. These are critical components that are now plugged in as they were sitting on top of that stack. We can do some very cool things. Especially, a lot of you probably heard recently about ChatGPT, and that's been taken in many different directions. Ultimately, that offers this real-time feedback that you can get the data and have a narrative spit out. We see a broad use of that. One example would be in the GovCon market. There's a Format 5 narrative that has to go out every month. It's a painful process. Usually you write it at the last minute. Having a tool like this that could get a draft going for you ahead of time, and having a CAM being able to review that's very important. But I think anyone could use that nice narrative output. And so these are the incorporations that we're going to be looking at over the next year. And like I said, you'll start to see this as a key module going forward that'll run across the platform, which is a good segue into what iPaaS will be in a different sense.
So this is, hello? So this is building on the data theme still. So again, customer data demands are evolving and maturing. Lots of systems that the customers want us to integrate with in a very bespoke fashion. Bespoke equals complexity, bespoke equals very long lead times of delivery, typically. So our integration with Platform as a Service, in particular we've started with Boomi, allows us to provide more or less off-the-shelf type integrations. But it also allows us to standardize the development around those integrations, which greatly accelerates and de-risks both the project for us and the project for the customer. It's not just Boomi that we'll be working with. We will be continuing developing the integrations as needed, because Boomi is not the right fit for some customers. But there is the first platform that we started with, and it provides a lot of out-of-the-box integrations with third-party systems. So
Yeah.
it's a great investment.
Something also Ryan mentioned, and just in terms of getting that data into one source, that really allows you to do a lot more with it. Our tool is going to be that critical component that helps you visualize it, simplify it, use it in a more effective way. And so this is, again, going across the entirety of our tool set user experience. We're looking to kind of take that user experience forward, but continue the simplicity concept. So we want to try to make the projects and the complexities easier to understand, easier to use from a user perspective. So you'll see a lot of that coming through in the tool as a key focus throughout everything we build, as well as pulling mobile along, right? So our mobile platform came out. It needs to start evolving now. And it gives us that other kind of UI, UX perspective, because on a mobile platform, you have to simplify. You cannot shove a bunch of text in front of a user, a bunch of buttons, and expect it to make sense in an application. And that's what we've all gotten to know and use on our phones. So that's really kind of what we're tailoring towards. So you'll start to see that approach even now within our deployments. Obviously, we're only looking at personas, what they need for what their job is, things like the portals, simplify it for executive reporting. That is going to continue to come as a key focus in every release. That really kind of summarizes the vision that we have here. It's a lot you can read about in the current releases. Some of what you saw and some of what you're about to get a demo for after our coffee break will show you what we've been building. And I encourage you to read those notes and ask questions and get a demo if there's anything you want to see about what's in the pipeline. And then, again, look for a different look and feel as we start to roll out the roadmap going forward. And more from me and Lee, whether you like it or not, I guess, huh?
Whether you like it or not.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.